Hello there, this is Anthony Johnson, and the premise of this video is to show you how to create a job, schedule a job, and actually run the job. Typically, the task of a SQL Server agent, this can be considered automation, database maintenance automation. Or automation, database maintenance, however you want to word it. So, let's begin. First, you want to make sure you are in the MSDB database. Second, you want to make sure that your SQL Server agent is enabled. You can tell it's enabled because it is green. Typically, it is red because you actually have to physically turn it on, unless you have a PowerShell script that programs it and turn it on, or some type of script. So here we go. We're going to create the job, and we are going to use a series of system store procedures. So the first one is going to be store proc add job. And then we have to feed the parameters. It's a bunch of parameters, but we only need a few. First one is the name of our job. We're going to do in varchar for this too. So we are going to call this create a table because it's ultimately that's what we're going to do. We'll just say create table. We'll keep everything close together to keep it easy. Enable, we need to set that to 1. 1 equals true, 0 is false. That is the bit theory. Now we need a description. Just give it a brief description. And we're going to keep it in varchar, keep it uniform across the board. Description, creating a table. Just keep it plain and simple. Our next parameter is start step ID. And we want to set that to 1. Lastly, for this batch of code is owner login name. And for the default, we're gonna actually use the default. We'll say SA. I misspelled that. My apologies. And that's typically, you can use SA inside of when you connect it to a database or connect it to a server and you're logging in. Typically, you have data administration, administrative abilities or permissions and things of that nature. So for our second batch, we need to actually add a job step. So execute SP, add underscore. Let's see if IntelliSense pick it up. Yep, right here. Add job step. Now let's feed the parameters. We need to have a job name, which is create table. Create table. And then we have our step name. Demo step. We'll just say underscore 99, just in case it's another step like that in here. Now we want to do our subsystem. Now subsystem, you can do T-SQL like we're gonna do here. Let me just type that up real quick. T-SQL. You can have command prompt, CMD, EX, I believe, EXE. Don't quote me on that. You can have a PowerShell. So typically it's just batch scripts essentially. SQL Server agent is able to run multiple tasks from SSIS, SSRS, triggering inserts and things of that nature. All sorts of tasks can be done data maintenance wise. So let's continue. So we have T-SQL for our subsystem. Now we actually get to our command. And these are all parameters that are defined by the system store proc. So I'm not just making anything up, just to let you guys know. So here for our command, we are actually going to do create table. We want it to be in a test DB. So we'll say test DB. dot dbo dot test table agent, and then we'll just do ID and and that's all we're gonna do. I guess we can add another column. We'll just say name and then varchar 25. Alrighty, so now we got our table created. Put our semicolon there for best practices. Put our comma because we have another parameter which is on success. So what are we gonna do when it's successful? And I will explain it to you here shortly after I finish typing this out. We're gonna set that to 1. So what when indicates is that if there's a series of tasks, once the task executes successfully the first task, then it will go to the next one and the next one and the next one. But if it's only one, it's going to execute successfully and then close the job out. It won't continue to process or replicate or continue to run tasks when the job is over with. So now we have our other parameter, my apologies, which is on fail action. So what do we do when it fails? We're actually gonna set that to 2. What 2 does, it quits the job and it reports the error. And so we're actually done there. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna go to go. Now we're on our next batch code, which is creating a schedule. So let's execute SP add schedule. You guessed it. Pretty self-explanatory in regards to the naming conventions, which is pretty ideal. So our first parameter is schedule name. Schedule name. And let's make up a name. Table creation schedule. We'll just say that. And then we have our frequency type. So the frequency type, you're actually going to probably have to do a little bit more deep diving into this because it's various combinations that you can put together in order for these jobs to run exactly how you want it. But for this case, we're actually going to set the frequency type to 1, which is a one-time execution. And then we're going to go underneath and put our frequency interval. We're also going to set that to 1. But since our frequency type is 1, the frequency interval won't even get executed, which is fine. But that's typically what the frequency interval is for if you are running this job more than just a one-off. So, and like I said, you want to look up the frequency type and the frequency interval parameters for the add schedule because it's quite interesting how you can the various combinations and the meanings behind the numbers that's used. But anyhow, let's get back to it. So for the last one, we have active start time. And this is military time, so HHMMSS, that is hour, minute, second. And currently, my time, it is 3:47. So with that being said, it would be 15:37 or 15:47 in whatever seconds. So in our case, we are going to do 15:55. So 3:55 and then 0 seconds. Just to give ourselves some leeway. We should be done before then. So put our semicolon and our go. We can also force the job manually to go as well. We're almost done here. So now we need to attach the schedule to the job. So execute SP attach a schedule, as you can see right there on the screen. Then we need to actually mention our job name again, which is create table. schedule name. IntelliSense doesn't really pick up on the parameters, which is fine. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Probably need to refresh, but we need to mention our schedule name, which is right here. I'm actually just gonna copy and paste this to save a little time. Alrighty. And then we can actually end that batch of code. Almost done here, guys and gals. Now we need to enable the job, which is execute SP update job. And then we gotta mention our job name, of course. And you guessed it, create table. What is our next one? Parameter. I'm trying to remember. Okay, yep. So for the we want to enable it, so we have to use enable, and we have to set it to 1 because we want to enable it, setting it to true. And go to end that batch and put a semicolon in our best practice. Then we actually want to add it to a server job. So we execute SP server job, add job server. My apologies. Add job server. That's where it is. I was wondering why the IntelliSense wasn't picking it up. Our job name. Create table. And then for our server name, I'm running it on my local machine. To practice on your local machine, you can use what I'm about to put in shortly. Your parameter name is server name underscore name, but since we're on our local machine, we use LOCAL. Alrighty. Let's see. Okay, so I set it for 55. So you know what? That's still 4 minutes. I don't want to add an additional 4 minutes onto this demonstration. So we're actually going to start the job. We're going to force start it. Start job, and then we're just going to mention our job name. Okay. And now that's done. Let's execute up until a certain point. You can run the whole script. I'm going to run this portion, and then I'm going to add one by one. Create table, specify job name. I misspelled it, my apologies. Execute that. That was successful. Add it to the job server. Now let's run our job. Job create table has started successfully. Now since we're in MSDB, let's run this query. Select all, run sys schedules, order by created or date created, descending. Okay, you see our job here, table creation schedule, enable. You see the various combinations you can have here. Okay. Testdb.dbo dot, what was our table name? What was our table name? Let's go up here and look. Test table agent. There we go. And as you can see, no data is in there, but we do have a structure. It is our ID and our name column, which is up here. ID and name. Okay, so quick run through. We have to use our add job. To create a job, we have to use our add job store proc. Then we have to add our job step. Then we have to add a schedule. And then we have to attach the schedule to the actual job. Then we actually have to enable the job with the store procedure update job. Then we have to actually add our job and to an actual server so we can run it. So we're running it local on our machine. That's why we use local in parentheses. and then we just forced our job. So, and another caveat is here when we actually add schedule is this isn't military time. So I didn't want to wait a little longer. So I forced the job. But typically, once this time had passed, the job would just trigger to run and we would have looked in the database and the table would have been there, similar to what we just did. Hope this was helpful. I hope you guys have a blessed day and bye bye.